Hello and welcome to today's Storytime recording. Today we're reading One Springy Day. I'm a bit close there. And this is by Nick Butterworth. This is part of the Percy the Park Keeper series. So we did another Percy Park Keeper around Christmas for the winter, but now that we're moving into spring, and this is such a wonderful story, it seemed like the perfect time to share it. So we'll get started. There's some great illustrations which we'll go through as we're going along, and it's just such a lovely little story to enjoy on such a lovely day. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I already do. One Springy Day by Nick Butterworth. 97, 98, 99, Percy the Park Keeper counted. 100. Come in, ready or not. Percy's animal friends were ready, all except one. Oh dear, said the fox. Where shall I hide? I can see you, Hedgehog, Percy called. Found you. The fox stood by the door to Percy's workshop. Oh dear, Percy said not to go in here. But, Percy called again. He was getting closer. 3 rabbits in my wheelbarrow. Found you. This was too much for the fox. He put his paws over his ears and slipped through the workshop doorway. There must be some way to hide in here, he muttered. He stopped by some tall shelves and looked up. I wonder. The fox began to climb the shelves like a ladder. It was very tricky, and it became trickier still when he got his foot tangled up in an old spring. He shook his leg, but the spring stayed put. He shook his leg harder and harder. The shelves began to sway. Get off, the fox whined. Percy's coming and I need to... Oh dear. And crash! The shelves tipped forward and emptied everything on them, including the fox, onto the floor. The fox wasn't hurt, but something wasn't right. He felt sticky. Very, very sticky. What was that noise? Said a voice outside. Oh no, it's Percy. The fox jumped to his feet and bundled himself into a nearby cupboard, just in time. Is somebody in here? Percy walked into the workshop, followed by all the other animals. He looked at the fallen shelves. Oh my goodness, what a mess! Everything's covered in my very sticky glue. Look, said the hedgehog. He pointed to a line of footprints across the floor leading to the cupboard where Percy kept things he needed for his work. Slowly, Percy opened the cupboard door. There was no sign of the fox. Fox, Percy called softly. Are you in there? There was a pause. No, said the fox. The animals giggled together. Then who can it be? Said Percy. Don't know, said the fox. It's definitely not me. Percy chuckled. Come on, out you come. To everyone's amazement, not only did the fox step out of the cupboard, but so did everything else, all at once, all stuck together. "Whoa," said Percy. The other animals began to laugh. They laughed and laughed. Only the fox didn't think it was funny. With one foot still stuck in the troublesome spring and the other in a paint pot, he ran from the workshop. Clomp boing, clomp boing, clomp boing. "Fox," called Percy, "come back." The animals looked at each other. "Oh dear," said Percy. "I think he's upset." Outside, the fox was nowhere to be seen. "We need a search party," said the owl. "No need for that. Look there," said the squirrel. "It's a trail of clues left by the fox." "Well done," said Percy. "Listen," said one of the rabbits. Everyone stood quite still. Clomp boing, clomp boing, clomp boing. "Aha," said Percy. We'll soon find him. And remember, when we do, no laughing." With the rabbits racing ahead, Percy and his friends followed the trail, collecting up all the clues in Percy's wheelbarrow. "Phew, I need a breather." Percy sat down on the roots of an ancient hollow tree. Two rabbits ran up to him. "The trail has run out. We can't find any more clues." "That's a nuisance," said Percy. "It'll be harder to find the fox now." "He could be." Boing. Percy stopped. The boinging sound seemed to come from inside the tree. Percy smiled and signalled for everyone to keep quiet. "Hello, Fox," he said. There was no reply. Percy went on. "Would you like to come out now?" "Can't," said the fox. "Stuck." Everyone tried very hard not to laugh. "Let's give you a hand then," said Percy. He reached into the hollow tree and found, not the fox, but the handle of a bucket. He gave a tug. "Goodness, you really are stuck." "Right, come on everyone, this calls for some teamwork." Percy and the animals tied ropes to strings to the bucket handle and the other bits and pieces that were stuck in the fox's fur. They tugged and they pulled again and again, but still the stuck fox stayed stuck. The badger whispered to Percy, "I think it's his bottom." "His bottom?" said Percy. "What's the matter with his bottom?" "It's stuck to the tree," said the badger. The badger picked up a mop from Percy's wheelbarrow and went to the other side of the tree. "I've got an idea," he said. "When I say go, Give it one more heave. The badger gently pushed the mop through a slit in the tree trunk. "What's that?" said a muffled voice. "Who's poking my—" "Take the strain," called Percy. "Ready, Badger?" "Go," shouted Badger. Percy and the animals gave a mighty heave, and the badger pushed them up as hard as he could. With a boing and a howl, the fox came free. "Fox flying out of the hollow tree," Percy called. "Found you." Bump! The fox landed in a heap in front of Percy. He tried to get up, wobbled, and sat down again. "Oh, my word," said Percy. "Look at your fur." "You need a nice, warm, soapy bath." The fox didn't look happy. And afterwards, Percy went on, "We'll all have tea. I've got a treacle tart we can share." "Not for me, thanks," said the fox. "I've had enough sticky stuff for one day." Percy chuckled. "Never mind," he said. "Tomorrow will be another fine spring day." "Please," said the fox, "don't mention springs." The end. So that was the story of Percy the Park Keeper's One Springy Day. I really hope that you enjoyed the story as much as I did. I've always enjoyed the Percy the Park Keeper stories. And I've always thought that they're a really great way to kind of like spend the year, because they can come up at different points in the year and they highlight different parts of the seasons, which is really sweet. This one in particular, though, has a really lovely note at the back here, which is written by Nick Butterworth, who's the author and illustrator. And I think it's really sweet, so I'm going to read it out to you guys because I think you really appreciate it. It gives it a good little background to what's going on. So it's actually, as I said, it's actually written by Nick Butterworth. So it's his little story in his own words. "I was born in London in 1946 and grew up in a sweet shop in Essex. For several years I worked as a graphic designer, but in 1980 I decided to concentrate on writing and illustrating books for children. My wife Annette and I have a son, Ben, and a daughter, Amanda, and 3 wonderful grandchildren. I haven't recently counted how many books there are with my name on the cover, but Percy the Park Keeper accounts for a good many of them. I'm reliably informed that they have sold in their millions worldwide. Hooray! I didn't realise this when I invented Percy, but I can now see that he is very like my mum's dad, my grandpa. Here's a picture of him giving a ride to my mum and my brother Mike in his old homemade wheelbarrow." So I'll bring that up really close for you guys, and you'll be able to see the comparison there between the Percy illustration and the picture, which I just think is absolutely adorable. It's just so sweet, because from now on, that's whoever I see whenever I see a picture of Percy. With this one in particular though, as with all the Nick Butterworth books, the illustrations are just so detailed and you can't help but think that they're heavily influenced by stuff he must have around his own home or things that he's seen, or in this case perhaps stuff he saw with his grandpa, especially things just in the cupboard. So I mean, like this one in particular, just the level of detail of different little things that you can find pottering about in the shed, on the front cover as well, exactly the same. Take the light out there. And I'm not going to give too many of them away because I think it's a lovely addition to anybody's home library, so if you can get a copy, I highly recommend it. And I recommend sitting down and just looking at the little pictures. Just the little details of the animals as well are incredible. So this one's actually quite hard to see because it's quite far away, but if I use this hand, so just down here where my finger's pointing, there's a tiny little mouse pulling the rope. There's a few other mice as well at a different point in the picture, but there's just one there who's not even touching the ground, and it's just such a sweet little detail that's just put in there, and you can kind of follow the story of all the animals as it goes through. It's just such a charming little book, and one that's quite timeless and you can come back to again and again. So I hope that the next time you're walking around your local park or you go to a big park and you see some of the animals who live in the area or in the woodland, and you maybe see someone who's take care of the land, it might remind you of these stories of Percy, and you can just think how wonderful it is that there are still places like that to visit and think about. So thank you for joining today on this really beautiful, I can see out the window, it's a beautiful day. So I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and listen to this wonderful little story. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Thank you. So from me and Pooh Bear, it's goodbye, and stay safe, take care, and we'll see you next week. Say bye, Pooh. Bye. Bye.